What's up, guys? Time to show off a cool build. Okay, Google, volume down. We have a dual cerakoted. You might not be able to tell because it's super close, but we have a titanium and black cerakoted Shelby build. We did a custom dial, dual cerakoted, which is tough to do. So lasered out the whole background, leaving everything else raised. Did everything in the titanium. Okay, Google, volume down. Did everything in titanium, baked it all on, then did everything in black, and before baking it on, removed that black from everything raised. So the Shelby, the GT500, and your Cobra there, and then bake that on. Did the case in titanium, did the band in titanium, did the crown in titanium, and the caseback and caseback ring. Bezel was done in black, and then the yachtmaster insert was done in a dual cerakoting process, the same as the dial. Everything was done in black, baked on, and then everything was done in titanium, so we get down in the lower parts, and then it's been sanded off the higher parts to expose the black, then baked. Did the same thing on the clasp. Whole thing was done in black, then the whole thing was done in titanium. Then we lasered off the upper level to just expose the Shelby, the custom Cobra, and the little BBW here. So this is just lasering down into that next level, not lasering it down until you get all the way to silver. Band is done in titanium, but the sides are done in black. And then custom engraved caseback on here for the recipient. And then I did a black handset with a black lollipop seconds hand. So there is the build. Bezel on this will turn left, it'll turn right. These are held on with a tension ring. And this is your how I make sure it's straight, because where's top dead center on the snake? Back of the head, maybe? I don't know. Easiest thing to do is put your 15 in the middle of your crown. In theory, your 30 in that will be centered, because there's not really too much of a point of reference on here, which was tough to set the hands. It was tough. So it's a good thing we have this bezel insert on here. It at least kind of helps you set your time. You know, you can look at a watch and know, okay, it's about 2:15. But if you need to set your watch to 2:15, it's nice and easy. 2:15 is easy if this wasn't even on here. But what if you wanted to set it at 2:22 and you had none of this out here? So these are very helpful, and I'll show you here in a sec. So this is an automatic mechanical. Inside here you've got a stainless steel movement holder and a signed rotor that moves back and forth, that keeps this thing wound. Has a 31-hour power reserve on it, so if you wound it out, it would hold for 31 hours without any kind of movement or you helping the rotor move. So before you put it on, if you're not going to be very active, make sure you wind it just a little bit, and how you do that is you back the crown off the threads until you hear it and feel it clicking. You'll see it's off the threads. At that point you can wind, and a wind is a turn away from you. Turning it towards you doesn't do anything, but it's a lot easier to keep your finger spacing and just go back and forth. If you do this because if you start threading it on, you can just back it right back off, then kind of pull it back just slightly so that you're back off the threads. So if you do that for 4 or 5 seconds before you put it on, even if you're not very active, you'll keep time throughout the day, because that'll be mixed with the rotor movement. If you know you're not going to be active at all, or you want to make sure it's running when you wake up, just keep winding it. If you do it for 10 to 15 seconds, you will max out your 31-hour power reserve on it. You cannot overwind it, so don't worry about that. So you can sit here and wind and wind and wind if you want. It just won't accept it once it's full. And you won't know when it's full. But in reality, we've probably were 4 or 5 seconds over winding it completely out. So when you're happy with your winding, you're going to pull it to the 1 and only click. At this point, you can now set your time. You'll also notice you've got a wobble crown. This deflects lateral pressure from going into the stem and into the movement. So when you're pushing and prying on it, it's not putting any bend into that or putting any pressure on the movement. So nothing's broke. So as you can see, it's a lot easier to tell what time it is with those around there. Okay, Google, what time is it? 10:56 a.m. So we are like slightly past that, right? Makes it a lot easier to set your time. When you're good, push it over, get it out of that time setting, and then start winding it down. That is the build. Now, whenever you are sizing this to your wrist, you'll notice there's a side that has little pieces that look like they've got a little line in them, and they're all the way at the top. These are not for like flathead screwdrivers. That's not what this is. This is basically a pin that's folded over on itself, and it's kind of expanded there at the top. On the other ends, you'll notice it's recessed a little bit. That's where you can get your little punch tool in there. So you're just going to punch out. Just give it one little tap until it pops out, and then it will feed out. You're going to put them back in the same way, because when you tap them back in, they are a little bit not as wide, right? So they're only going to go in so far, and they're going to stop, and where they stop is your recessed area to pound them back through. So when you get them out, you're going to notice one end is solid and one end is basically two ends where the piece of metal is folded back on itself. That's the side that you tap in. So you lead with, the pointed area. So if you tap them out this way, you're going to feed them back through this way, and make sure you just feed them in the correct way. So this way's face that way, this way's face the other. This is, you tap them out this way, out that way. On this side, you tap them out this way to come out that way, and reverse feed them back through. So let's say you've taken out one over here and one over here, and it's on and it feels good, but it's a little bit loose, and you want it just a little bit tighter. But if you take out another link, it's too tight. You've got micro adjustments right here. This is a spring bar inside of here. There's a spring bar inside there holding that, okay? If you depress that, it's just like a toilet paper holder. Now it's, that part would stay in, but this side's loose. You just walk it over and click it into that one, flip it over, push that one in, walk it over and click it into that one. You've done a half link adjustment. You can move this from here all the way up to here for a full link adjustment. So that's all that is. This is a double lock clasp. When you put this on top of itself, you can either push, but yeah, push will still grab on there because it's feeding through here. That piece is going in there, and when you squeeze this, it opens that. That's all that is. So if you push it on, it's just force pushing it through, but you can squeeze and do that, and then a double lock just comes over and clicks down. So that's how that part works if you are unfamiliar with that. That is the build. As with every build, you're going to get matching beads, entirely up to you how cool you are. But there they are. It's going to come in a silver BVW Special Edition box. This will come with watch cleaner. This is good for this watch as a whole, glass and metal. Non-streaking, non-toxic, non-residue. That will actually come with a silver microfiber, but I have a white one hanging out over here. But it will come with a silver microfiber. That's if anything gets on it, just spray it, wipe it down. And it will also come with some fine scratch remover. This is just Novus 2 repackaged. It's like Polywatch. It's for your acrylic glass because you can scratch it. If you do, no big deal. Put a tiny bit of this on it and use your color matching microfiber to haze the scratch, buff the scratch out. If it doesn't work, wait a little bit and do it again. It's kind of like drywall mud. You're building up layers. If you're back on it too soon, you're going to pull out what you've included in there. So light scratches you're going to take out pretty easily. Now if you scratch the cerakote, it's like scratching your car. If you see paint or if you see bare metal, you're done. If you don't, try some gun oil. Gun oil should at least kind of mask it a little bit. Same thing if you ever, like this, actually everything here kind of felt nice and loose, but if you have any links that you think, I could work that a little bit, just put some gun oil on it and work it through. And your watch will smell like gun oil, but it will be a little bit more flexy. So, but most of these are good. Like you can see that there's kind of staying, was kind of staying a little bit bent. I actually righted itself out. But If you work them just a little bit, most of them are just fine, but adding a couple layers of Cerakote will give them a little bit of friction, but nothing terrible. But that is the build. This right here, for those watching, if you want something like this, this is pretty much the top of what I can do with something. So full Cerakote build, dual cerakoted dial. Those are all kind of tough to do, hard to work with. These are hard to set the dials on there. Hard to set the glass because now you've got extra layers in there for. I'm looking for the word. It's losing me. You only have so much room to include something, and then when that has that extra layer going around there. Oh, tolerances. The tolerances are tighter. Tolerances are tighter to work, whenever you're screwing these on. So we have to make sure we're real careful around the crown tube so we can thread this on. And same thing with the caseback, where we thread this on. It's a ring that goes all the way around and holds it down with compression. All that stuff in there, bead blasting it, getting all those beads out, the glass beads, and then Cerakote, and then that extra new tighter tolerances make everything tighter to work with, harder to work with, and set up. So this is about as tough as it gets, and about as high on the peak of something we can do. So so that is the build. Appreciate you reaching out to me, Mary, and ordering this. I hope he loves it. And if you want me to build you something custom, you need to reach out and I'll see what I can do. And if you want to continue to see videos like this, like and subscribe as I put them up all the time. Thanks, guys.